This is the Mobile Tech Podcast, brought to you by worldpodcasts.com. Now here's your host, Tech Girl, Miriam Joie.
Brought to you by MediaTek. Hi, and welcome to the Mobile Tech Podcast. I'm your host, Miriam Joie, and today is Thursday, October 2nd, 2025. And I've got the awesome Siegfried here of MediaTek. Hi, Siegfried. How are you?
Hi, Miriam. How are you?
Great. It's really awesome to have you on the show because last week, MediaTek announced its flagship SoC, the Dimensity 9500. And I have you here to tell us all about it. I'm super excited about this chip. So, in a nutshell, how would you describe the Dimensity 9500? This is your flagship processor, obviously replacing the 9400, 9400 Plus. But what were the goals when designing this new chip?
Right. So I think this is already the fifth generation of our flagship SoC. So we have been through a lot of things as a challenger. We're always a challenger in this market. So I think at the beginning stage, when we design this chip, we always want to have a revolution in this market. So looking back to these 2-3 years, I think AI is incremental thing that I'm gonna have the smartphone to grow and also
Yes.
have the end user to, more in favor to your smartphone again. So I think this SoC at the very beginning stage, we designed it as a very powerful AI mobile SoC. I think as it is so far that we check the performance and then we double check the achievement that we have done. I think we can say 9500 we have a great computing, including CPU and GPU and especially AI.
Mm-hmm.
So for the CPU part, I think we have achieved a tremendous growth for the CPU, including the single core and multi-core in
Mm-hmm.
comparison to the other mobile SoC platform. And then if we talk about the generation to generation, that grows a lot above like 30% more.
Right.
And
So,
mm,
so this is AI as a focus, correct?
yes,
One of the things I've noticed personally, and I think this is a wonderful time in terms of mobile platforms right now, is that the performance is so strong that
yes,
you're never left wanting. I feel like the last 2-3 years, you can use a Dimensity 9300 today, you won't feel any lack of performance. And I'm wondering if as those SoCs are getting more powerful and more
hmm
efficient, of course, there's the AI focus, and we're going to talk about that. But I think the other focus, it seems to me, is on the user experience more than the kind of the numbers, right? The
right,
benchmarks.
right.
Would you say that's something MediaTek paid close attention to with like better features in the ISP and things like that to get the user experience to really, really shine?
Right. So you're right. So I think in this generation, we're put user experience, we call this UX at the very front. So we have a VIP engine that is especially to serve for resource labeling. When we call resource labeling, that is, consider the system requirement to balance the compute active power and also the sleep power. So, in a return, when you check the real phone right now, especially we have some partner smartphone we're about to launch the October timeframe, and then
Okay.
very soon go globally. When you have it hold in your hand, you can experience that. So we do a lot of works on your touch experience and gaming experience. For example, we carefully measure the touch when you touch the screen and the response when your apps pops up. And then we carefully manage every time you touch that, I have to synchronize. And then we have to minimize the variation of the touch and response. That is
Right.
one example.
Hmm.
And then second to that, it is the power consumption you talk about. So when we design the IP, as you're very very true. I mean, if we use the 9300 per se, like United States, you have the Samsung tablet already have a
Correct.
9300 is already very powerful. And then not to say this year, we also collaborate with the Samsung. They will launch a new one with a 9400. Is it
Yeah, it's out already. We've got it. Yeah.
Right, and then even powerful. So people will ponder. I mean, how come we need a more powerful platform? And then this whole thing, right? So
I think the answer is AI, right? I mean,
yeah,
that is really the AI workloads are getting so important, especially on device, right? We're going away from in cloud AI to on device for that instant response, no connectivity required.
right,
Like give us some numbers if you have them. Like how many tops are we looking at on the NPU?
right.
What kind of manufacturing technology? I presume this is 3 nanometer TSMC of some kind. My
Yes.
audience would love to know these kind of details if you have them.
Yeah, right. So you will be amazed because for the AI T-apps this year, we almost double the performance. So we
Wow.
can up to 100 T-apps. That is the number that no other mobile SoC, including the AI PC, can achieve. So I
Right.
think that will create another era for you say that because nowadays, when we talk about the edge AI, we're no more talk about the purely moving the cloud AI thing to the edge, but we could talk about the fusion, right? So because
Correct.
in the
Yep.
United States, we get used to use the ChatGPT all the time. Right. So something, I mean, stay in the cloud should be in the cloud because in the cloud you have a big brand that should be very smart. But in your device have to be very close to you and know what you are and what you need. And then, for example, they can help you to do one touch to revise or beautify or your picture. I mean, back to the time you probably spend a lot of time here and there, and you're here, and then the color and the light, right? Spend like 10 or 5 minutes to do that. I mean, according to what you need. But nowadays, your device know your preference, so you can do the one touch and do all your thing. And
Right.
not only to the photo you shoot, but also all the photo archive they can adapt to. So I call it is that more like a sleepy beauty function during your sleep, and then your on
Everything
your
gets updated in the
right,
background. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
right, something
So
like
tell
that.
me, I know that you did some cache and memory architecture optimizations with the Dimensity 9500. Can you tell us a little more about that as well?
Yes, I mean, when we talk about what I mean earlier, before I talk about the CPU performance up boost more than 30%, or we also consider power consumption. So we do two things. One
Hmm.
is we enlarge the cache system in CPU in double. For example, we double the L1 cache and we enlarge the L3 cache. That will tremendous support your performance to be more smooth and then
Right.
save your power. And the second part it is we use the industrial first. We introduce the 4 lane UFS. So back in the time, the original design for all the platform is 2 lane UFS. It's around 5 gigabit per second for the bandwidth.
Okay.
So to the 4 lane, we can double it up to the 10 gigabit per second. And then the
Wow.
beauty of the thing is, I think they create a flexibility and then the capability for you to not only use the a regular usage in the rewrite during your flash memory in download and upload the memory, but also we talk about some small large language model. So
Okay.
and then we can while you use the AI model, you can upload and download the AI model very
Ah,
swiftly, right? So the beauty of thing is we create the capability and the flexibility to this platform.
fantastic. And then in terms of GPU, can you tell us a little more about what's new? I know 120 frame per second ray tracing is a new thing, correct?
Yes, I think we're the first one to talk about the ray tracing, frankly speaking. So if you
Yes,
remember, in
I do.
9200,
It's a
we
long
talked
time
to
ago, 3 years ago.
3 years ago. So it's been a long way because when we lead the market, sometimes when a technology take the lead, then we have to collaborate with the ecosystem, meaning the game title and also the game engine. And then also we need to talk about what picture or what scenario you want to use the ray tracing in your game. I think most important thing is in this year they will really have a more and more game title for like a shooting game and some game that in the end of this year or beginning next year will adapt ray tracing in their game.
Okay.
So 9500, we introduced a new ray tracing technology. We call it a ray pipeline. So
Okay.
the beauty of the thing is when we look at the tree, when you get a trunk, back in the time 9400 or above, that it can only achieve like 60,000 triangle computing block. So when we said ray tracing, we always said about triangle computing capability for you
Right.
to mimic the real scene of the tree trunk, right? So
Yes.
in the 9300, you said you can take that around 60,000 ish. In 9500, we improved to 6 to 8 million. So this is more like 10 times.
Wow.
So the reality and then the experience that you feel in the game will be totally different. So we call it as more like console in your pocket. So you can expect that in some console game, your experience can bring in your pocket.
Cool. And then, of course, obviously, I think when I talk to my audience, which is, by the way, a global audience, although, of course, I'm based in North America, what I hear from all my readers, listeners is battery life. And we've talked about that. And of course, cameras, imaging, right?
Right.
So tell us about what has been improved the 9500 in terms of the ISP imaging or DSP or anything related to the imaging pipeline. Because obviously that's critical, right? It's not just about the number of cameras, the number of megapixels. It's about the ability for the ISP to talk to the NPU faster and process data faster in that kind of stuff. So I'm curious what has been done there.
Right. So when we said it is original burn from the AI, when we said that is AI is everywhere. So not only because we have a very, very powerful AI, we talk about 100 TOPS, right? And
Yes.
then for the camera that we design a smaller NPU, we call this efficient NPU. So this
Okay.
is also the differentiation. This is the industrial first to introduce that because when we consider for say like a smaller AI for like a AI camera or AI effect, then you don't usually acquire a big engine to drive that because you have Porsche, they will drive that. That is sometimes they will drain a lot of power. So instead, we use the smaller AI, and then we also build in a memory. We call it is computing in memory technology. We
Hmm.
build a memory inside the NPU to fuse this together, and then can have the smaller NPU system more efficient.
That
So
makes
in
sense.
as a result, when we use the ISP, that for say like 4K 60 to the normal usage, and because I mean nowadays people always use AI camera or AI effect. So I mean to beautify not only to beautify the picture but also for the telescope that can help you to have the
Zoom.
more.
Yeah. Yeah. Better high resolution
Right, right,
zoom. Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
right, right. And then you have to have the AI support. So these are tiny little things. It seems like that is already in your usage, but it is actually driven some power. So we use the tiny AI together with the ISP. That will be super helpful to improve the user experience in there.
I think the challenge, right, is that as our NPUs are growing in scope and size and capabilities, right, like
Right,
the big NPU, right,
right.
because the AI problems it needs to be able to be versatile to address,
Yeah,
we're losing that specialty and efficiency and small size and that we need for certain applications like
yeah,
AI for the modem, right, or
yeah.
AI for the ISP. So I
Right,
think it's interesting that we're getting extra NPUs now added on all the different subsystems, right? It's like
right.
when the sensor hub was added, it's like its
Yeah,
own little microcontroller that just manages the sensors, so it's
yeah.
more efficient. I think we're kind of seeing that now migrate with NPUs being added to various subsystems. I think it's fascinating, and
Right.
I'm really excited to see how that pans out in actual use when the new devices get announced in October. Tell me a little more in general about if you've been able to gain any kind of efficiencies in power management or power efficiencies through the manufacturing process. As I said earlier, I assume this is TSMC 3 nanometer of some kind, correct?
Yes, so we call this the N3P. So
Okay.
this is the third generation of 3 nanometer. So, talking about TSMC, I think, I mean, in television, everybody talk about TSMC all the time, right? So
Of course.
that offer the only, well, I mean, leading the industry, so that only one can have the mature and a stable advanced process node. And the MediaTek have a very close relationship with the
Of course.
TSMCs, right? So we are neighbors.
I know, no, I
Building
know.
to building.
I've been to your headquarters. I know
Yeah,
your neighbors.
right,
It's
right, right.
hilarious when you walk into the office and you're like,
Right,
"Oh, there's
right,
TSMC right next
right,
door."
right. So, I mean, we're also grateful that we have a long partnership with TSMC. So we're always the first one, especially the flagship SoC, the first one to adapt their latest and newest and the most powerful advanced process. So, and then we also support them to tuning their capability and the yield and somehow. So we somehow this is more like supporting to each other. So for this generation, that is, this is already the third generation of 3 nanometer. So the maturity of this process now is no doubt. So speaking
Great.
of the EO and the performance, and then that is more like a one step down to next generation. So they will have more advanced process node 2 nanometer coming up in coming year. So considering because it is small process node improvement for 3 generation. So we do a lot of architectural innovation in the computing part, considering that. So just like I said, I mean CPU, GPU, and NPU, and the cache system, and double the performance of the NPU and double the
Yeah.
performance of the flash. And then also build in the smaller NPU and also a new architecture to the GPU part. And we also use the latest ARM C1 family, so
Right.
all of that it is considered because we still have to provide it, I mean, for the consumer point of view, a meaningful upgrade from 9400. This is
Of course.
all we want.
That is the way of the future. Every year we get more. It's awesome. One
Right.
last question before we wrap up.
Mhm.
Is the modem integrated? Is Wi-Fi and Bluetooth integrated, or is these separate chips on this?
Right. So the Wi-Fi, the modem is integrated. Is SoC. So we upgrade the modem to a 5cc CA carrier aggregation that it can boost the performance up to like a 15%. And for the connectivity and the Wi-Fi, that is a separate chip. And
Hmm.
then we also build in some AI into that. So there is some feature you love that. For example, if you're wearing your ear pad or your earphone, I mean, everybody use Bluetooth. So there is a bad experience is if you, I mean, while you're cooking or you're moving from one room to next room, the signal will die out immediately, right? So
Right.
we have special technology can enhance the quality and then can extend your range double the distance.
Oh,
So
wow.
all comparing to, well, even you're wearing the same device, you will experience a different life and different experience while you're using the audio.
Great.
That is one thing. And
And
another
so
thing
that's
is
a companion chip for Wi-Fi 7,
yes,
Bluetooth. Is it Bluetooth 6?
yes, a Bluetooth 6.2, right?
Got it. Great. And so the 5G modem, is that support millimeter wave as well or
Right,
not?
so minimum wave for we build in minimum wave is 9200 and 9300, and starting from 9400 to
It's
9500
separate, right?
we separate the minimum wave out. So the thing is when we consider the overall cost structure,
And it's
somehow
also not used very much. Like, is this just North
yes,
America for one carrier, and then
one
maybe
carrier.
Korea and maybe Japan? So yeah, and I just was wondering. The last thing is NTN. Does it support NTN in the built-in modem?
Yeah, so well, for NTM part, I think the capability is right there. So I think the mobile platform, the SoC platform, the idea is we create a capability and flexibility. And then because this platform probably will last for 1 or 2 years. And then for the NTM part, this is a little bit complicated because the service itself that requires a collaboration, not only the SoC, but also the OEM and also the satellite and also the
Right,
service provider, and then
right.
down to the mobile phone, how they use an app or the inborn application. So short, that is, we do have a collaboration with several ecosystem, try to bring it up. The capability is right there. right? So we
That's
can
what I
wait and
figured.
see. Yeah, so we can wait and see when the result will come out.
Fantastic. Well, listen, Siegfried, we got to go, but thanks so much for being on the show and walking us through some of the improvements on Dimensity 9500. Very exciting.
Yeah.
Thanks again for your time.
Thank you.
And folks, we're back with Rob Pegoraro. Hi, Rob. How are you?
Hey, Miriam. How you been?
I've been well. We saw each other in Hawaii last week for Snapdragon Summit. I'm glad I finally have you on the show. It's my first time having you on the podcast. How is that even possible after what?
Super good
A
question.
decade or something?
Damn it. Schedule coordination is not really my best.
It is done. We're here. Listen, obviously Dimensity 9500, we covered that extensively in the segment before this. I'm very excited about that chip. I'm looking forward to the new phones coming, but we have more actively a bunch of new phones coming with Qualcomm's new chip and smart glasses. I didn't talk about this in the last 2 weeks, but so much smart glass news out there. And you wrote a very interesting article, which I kind of agree with to some extent. And you're not the only one. Andy Boxall, formerly Digital Trends, now Android Authority, I think, wrote a similar story saying, nobody wants to wear glasses, but I feel they're different because I was born with glasses on my face, so like I'm a little biased.
I wear them for distance vision, but they're thin frame things, very delicate.
Yeah, I know. So what are your thoughts? Obviously Meta came out with their new Ray-Ban display smart glasses, which I think are really the first viable, it seems, reviews pending, of an AR smart glass. What I think of when I think, like when we think of Tony Stark. Yeah. What are your thoughts on that product based on what you know so far? And then where do you think we're going? What are your thoughts in general based on your story?
So, I see smart glasses sort of as two levels. Number one is the ones where it's just a camera and a microphone, but not a display, which I'm like, why? The camera is going to take worse pictures than the one on my phone because I can't properly frame anything. It's lower resolution. The microphone, yes, I can talk to it, but how often am I going to want to do that in practice? And also the issues, maybe friends and family don't want to wonder if I'm taking pictures of them by looking to see is there a little light on your glasses or not.
Yeah.
Now, the vision for AR, augmented reality, has been around a while. I wrote about that 16 years ago for the Washington Post. And it's compelling, but there's a lot of ifs. It's a lot of load-bearing ifs in that scheme. The big one is battery life. Meta's saying 6 hours battery life. So that means, yes, you can have constant access to the knowledge of the world without grabbing your phone, but then you need to put them in the glasses in the case to charge them again. That's not so great. They're expensive, and our friend Avi Greengart found they're very hard to find. So, like, you have to book a demo.
Price, though, I think, I saw that on their website. But the pricing, do we know the pricing?
$799.
That's a lot.
It's a lot for something you have to...
it's not Vision Pro levels. Like, I thought it was going to be that level.
Well, that is a different benchmark. But no, it's really interesting how they're rolling it out. You have to schedule a demo, not to measure your face, but your wrist for the neural band thing through which you control it. And here I am sitting in DC, the two closest spots. There's one Best Buy that's about 24 miles to my northwest in Germantown, Maryland. There's another one about 27 miles east in Annapolis, Maryland, and nothing closer. And it's equally thin availability as well. And yes, our analyst friend Avi Greengart tried to go find a pair to test in New Jersey. The closest Best Buy Meta site listed was not a Best Buy. It was some other store at that address. So we had to go wandering around to just New Jersey to find it. And it turns out if you wear prescription glasses, you have to go to an optician. And there are no such options listed in DC. In the New York area, there are a couple in Manhattan. I looked in the Bay Area. It's somewhat thin. So basically, you have to really, really want these things. And I know that I don't really, really want these things.
Well, before we get into why you don't, let me counter-argument a few things. Okay, first of all, when I say this, it feels to me the first viable AR smart glasses. There's a number of things here. We're going to get limitations. They're still chunky. Their battery life is going to be limited. That goes without saying. Like, I did not expect more than 5 hours of battery life on these. This is not an all-day device at this point, which kind of, to your point, goes against kind of the concept, but we need to get there, right? Now, the availability thing, I think the fact that they want you to go to a VIP white glove experience, like kind of like Google Glass.
I'm not sure if I'd call Best Buy a VIP white glove experience.
But you know what I'm saying? They might
have their Meta
they might have
Studios,
something
that's
set
true.
up. They might have something set up in there, just like Apple has their little Apple stores in the Best. I'm just saying that I understand why they want a white glove, whatever you want to call it, like a special curated demo experience first, like Apple with Vision Pro. But I think you're right. The next thing I was going to say is that it's very lacking when you have to go to a Best Buy. They should have set up some pop-up stores all over North America, like in major cities where it's the place you go to, or maybe the 2 or 3, because in places like LA, everything is really spread out. But in the Bay Area, you could have one simply in San Francisco or simply in Palo Alto, and people would just go there, right?
Meta Studio that's going to set up, but I don't think available until December. One, I guess, really close to the Meta Master Campus. There was one in LA, I forget where, but it was in the sort of upscale, spendy neighborhood where you might expect to see that.
And that makes sense. So the battery life, the chunkiness, the limitation of what it can do, I'm willing to accept that. That's the early adopter part, right? But I think you're right. The approach of the Best Buy thing, no. The white glove thing or the demo, whatever you want to call it, the fact that they're curating the experience to get you on board, I totally understand that. Because it does take some, you have to teach how to use the band and all that. But that's the other problem. The band is a problem. I think the band is a really good idea because it's better than gestures, whatever. But it's kind of like, I feel like it's a stepping stone to what we ultimately want, which is like no band, right? And you know that 2 or 3 gens down.
Are we talking implants? Because I don't want to talk implants.
No, I'm not talking implants. I'm talking about the fact that it can actually see our hands, right? I think we need to get to the point where like Vision Pro, there's no external accessory required, beyond in the case of the Vision Pro, the battery pack. But I think that to me, I understand why they're doing it, but it really feels like an intermediate thing to me that is solving a problem that we can't solve technologically yet. But they didn't want to wait because the glasses are close to ready in terms of form factor. And I have to admit, I wear chunky glasses and I don't think those glasses look terrible. I think that they have that Ray-Ban essence. And if you're an early adopter, this might be a thing. The other thing I want to say is, to your point, is the big question is, do we want to wear glasses? Do we even need AR smart glasses in the first place? And that, I feel we do. I still think that's the holy grail. I don't think, in the same way as you have a laptop, I do, in the same way as some of us have tablets, in the same way as we have smartwatches.
I'm losing count of the computers on my desk.
Right? Yeah, same. You know what I'm talking about? Like in the same way as we have these devices, I think the smart glasses are augmenting your experience. Eventually, they might replace your phone, but I don't think it's going to happen for a long time. But I think there's a use case. Like, imagine we're at Summit, Qualcomm last week, right? Like, there are so many. I'm very bad with names. I know you are too, because you told me so.
Name blindness, it's a thing.
So having these smart glasses and having a name hover over every person there because of, facial recognition. Now, there's the privacy issues, but we're used to, as early adopters, going to these conferences. A lot of people are wearing Ray-Ban glasses without the display already.
Far
anyway,
more so
we're getting filmed. We're getting filmed all the time, so that's not an issue there. And I think that would be the use case for me, right? Or directions, right? If I'm walking in an unknown city, like those are the little things that I think it would enhance. And 5 hours of battery life and chunkiness might work for me. But I still don't want to wear a band.
Google had a good demo of that at I/O, where I could try on their Android XR glasses, and if I looked down, I would see a map hovering on the floor. And if I looked up, I'd see basic directions. I like the attention. And I also have to look at, who is the protagonist of bringing smart glasses to the masses.
Oh, because and Meta is not the one I want. Yes.
Mark Zuckerberg's judgment about consumer tech hardware is horrible. How many billions of dollars has he lit on fire trying to make the metaverse happen? We don't want to talk about that. That being
said, I think from a technical level, he's got a really good team. And I think right now, honestly, I feel like Apple should feel threatened because I think
apparently Apple is diverting their attention from a successor to their VR headset to some kind of AR smart glasses.
There was an article, I'll link to it on GSM Arena, but I don't know who initially reported this, but Bloomberg, I guess. And Apple is pausing Vision Air, which is a lightweight Vision Pro product to focus on smart glasses. And honestly, don't you feel like this is like a Apple moment? Like when Vision Pro came out, I was like, Apple, you're doing it wrong. This is not where we're going. Nobody wants a face hugger, right? Like,
$3,500.
and the price, yeah, not to mention. I mean, from a technical perspective, I was impressed, but I was like, I finally got to try them out once, and I was like, wow, like this is the first VR headset that I don't feel like I want to throw at the wall, except that it's still a VR headset and a face hugger, and I sweat, and it's a horrible experience. But that's why I want glasses. And that's why I think for me, glasses, because I've been wearing glasses since I was like 3 years old or something, I'm used to them. I don't mind them. I wear them all day. I'm totally on board. I want to try these out. But I think that we're like 5 years away from that being like a thing that you can wear most of the day, doesn't need a band, is less chunky, etc. Right? Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah. The question is, will we be 5 years away, 3 years from now still? And yeah, my perspective is I wear glasses for distance vision. So I'm the guy who's looking through my glasses at the slides during a presentation at something like Snapdragon Summit, then looking below them at my laptop keyboard. Maybe at some point my vision will degrade and I need bifocals or whatever.
So I have progressives, and it's, for some people it doesn't work. I don't know why, because for me it's been a revelation. Like I didn't believe in them. Like, I always thought there's no way I want to wear bifocals or anything like that. Now my eyesight is a bit different than most people. I can see really well in the distance, but I have a hard time. Okay,
I say being farsighted is a good trait in a tech journalist. But I'm not. I'm nearsighted.
It got to a point where I needed a separate pair of glasses for reading because I needed slightly different magnification close up than further down. But it's not the reverse. Like, some people can hold a phone close to their face and see it really well without glasses. I'm not that person. But with my progressive right now, I have 20/20 vision looking far and looking close. It's amazing. And my eyes have perfectly adapted to it to the point where it's just a matter of where I look. If I look further down, like on my screen, I don't have to like do a weird thing like this. I just look and it's perfectly in focus. And I look outside. I'm looking out the window right now, and I can see the Benioff Tower and count the freaking floors. It's amazing. And I'm a mile away. So my point is, like, I'm used to it, and I'm on board with, the wearing them all the time. It's just a matter of battery life and also privacy. And also, as you said, which ecosystem I'm in. I would much rather be in Apple's ecosystem than Meta's.
I would trust Apple to get the privacy aspects done right. Yeah, me neither. But yes, Meta is not. I have so many issues with that company right now.
Same. And, I feel like they really destroyed social media for us. And I'm saying that because I'm upset about it, because I really believed back in the day, because I'm an engineer turned journalist. I was around the .com when pie in the sky was the thing. And before the Ivy Leagues and the Wall Street people corrupted tech and made it evil. And it was awesome. We had all these great ideas, cool things we wanted to do. And I feel like Facebook came along and just messed it all up for everyone. I feel like, Google has they all have some responsibility, but I feel like social media, I was on tribe.net. I don't know if you remember that social media. It was kind of more geographical to the Bay Area. It was amazing. I built so much community through that site back in the day. And a lot of that translated over to Facebook. And for a while, Facebook was great. Twitter, as we know in the early days, was amazing, right?
R.I.P. Twitter as we knew it.
Like this creation of the echo chamber and amplifying the voices that you like and in reposts, instead of giving us a feed that we can curate, was the downfall of social media. And that started with Zuckerberg selling his soul. That's where we're at, folks. And I'll stick with that. And that's why I feel the same way as you. Meta is not the solution. But do you think people want to wear smart glasses? Like you said, you don't need them all the time. So I'm not the good candidate, right? Because I will wear them all the time.
Is zero. Like no one outside of tech circles has said, hey, what is this? Is this a thing? Which one should I get? And I compare that smartwatches, really quick uptake. And it, to a lot of degree, I think they satisfy the use case of give me something glanceable that lets me keep my phone in my pocket or purse or whatever. And also does useful things like, tell the time. Foldable phones.
That's the smartwatch. We have that product. That exists, right?
Crazy expensive. But I've started seeing normal, non-techie people carry them around. So that to me tells me that concept has got legs, which I guess means Apple has to come out with one now that it's been market tested for long enough by other people.
Right. Yeah. I don't know. I think that, we should have a variety of devices that are wearable that we can get at augmented content from, whether that's AR through glasses or, earbuds. Like, I still believe that there's a really great opportunity with, kind of like that interaction with an assistant through voice in some conditions, but that's really seamless. Like, what we're trying to do in the car right now, but failing miserably because nobody's able to have a good enough agent or assistant, right? And because I test cars all the time. So I'm either using projection, Android Auto, or CarPlay, which I really hate, by the way. I do believe that a native infotainment experience is always better, but unfortunately there's but there are very few who are doing it right. GM, I don't think, is doing it quite right yet. But right now, really the only companies doing right the technology in cars for the infotainment, in my opinion, are Tesla, Rivian, and the Chinese, right? And, Xiaomi, for example, right?
You got to tell you about the Chinese cars. I've only been a passenger in them.
Oh, they're fantastic. Anyway, the point is, I think, for me, what I'm seeing is like, every time I've tried to have an interaction with these agents in the car, it's like it gets frustrating. Like, even just, let's take the case that everybody's familiar with, CarPlay or Android Auto, projection. Not my favorite, but it works. The assistants are there. Siri is there, right? We've got, the assistant from Google. I'm not going to say the word, but they suck. Like, I get a text message. It reads it to me. And then, like, it takes 10 minutes for me to have an interaction. Then it doesn't send the message properly. The text isn't what I want. Now, we don't have Gemini in the car yet. That'll come. I'm hoping that they can fix some of the stuff. Yeah, it's coming. And it's definitely better on my smartwatches now that it has them. I've noticed that. But I feel like I just should be able to have a conversation that's completely fluent, like natural, and say like, hey, text Rob that I'm running late, and remap me to the closest charging station, and it just does it. Like, and we're not there yet. We're not there on anything, and so it doesn't matter if it's a car or just earbuds or headphones that are connected to your phone that assist you like that. Without, essentially, it's audio AR, right? Like, I want that. That we need to crack that first, and we need to crack that in addition, I think, to the glasses projecting something in front of you.
Independent.
But you're right.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't want to wear glasses, and I get it. And I'm not saying they should. I think that it's just one mode. And I think that the reason people right now are not hot on the smart glasses is because of the cameras, because it's Meta. Well, if they even know that it's Meta. It's because tech has been there's been an enshittification of technology, right? That has made people very weary of tech. And so, of course, now, we've been told so many times, this is the greatest, latest, and then it was a horrible disaster, especially when it came to things on our face with cameras, like, Google Glass. Hello.
Google Cardboard. Remember that? This is a souvenir from Google I/O 2014, I believe.
Yes, for those of you watching on Patreon right now, for those of you who are watching the video version, Rob just pulled out Google Cardboard. By the way,
still works.
You can get this show. Yeah, you can get this show on video a day in advance every week for $5 a month. Patreon.com/TNKGRL. So find you there if you want to support me. So yeah, look, I think for me, I can look past all this because I am a nerd and I am interested in the technology because I've believed in AR since day one. I've never really been a fan of VR. Like, I believe that VR has its place for gaming, if you're on an airplane and you want to watch a movie. But to me, AR should be the main focus. And then your glasses should be able to, like, either you put some kind of sun visor on, or like they have a polarizer or something that turns on, like kind of like the X-Rail glasses go darker with a button.
Right, yeah.
And then it becomes VR. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's, to me, VR is a subset, a niche case of AR use that is specific to maybe gaming, or, you're in an airplane, on a bus, on a train, and you want some privacy and you want to chill out and you want to lean back, right?
And AR, you can just try that on your phone right now. There are apps like Flight Radar
Correct.
24, which does a super neat overlay. What's that airplane in the sky? Here's the flight number. Here's where it's coming from.
And when we were driving back from the hotel to the airport in Hawaii, in Maui, you were using the star map thing.
Sky,
That's AR. Yeah. So, I mean, it exists. I want, as somebody who wears glasses a lot, I want this to be a thing, and I want this to be a thing that's viable. And I want it to be to the point where this, fancy $500 frame that I'm wearing, that on top of that had these fancy progressive lenses, that, the whole pair probably cost me $600 or more. And it's fine because I do that. I like really unique pairs of glasses, and I splurge on the frames every 2 years or so. Great. However, I'd love some electronics in there that do something for that kind of money, especially if Meta's going to sell these glasses for $799. I'm close to that with my normal frames, right? So if I can wear them all day, but the battery might not last all day, that's fine. I just can wear them all day. And then for part of the day, I have enough battery.
They just operate as glasses.
Correct. And then every now and then I can do some AR use for them, if I go to like a meeting in the evening or dinner, like a media thing reception, I can see the names of the people. I can have some other use cases like, hey, take a note. This was really interesting conversation. Can I know again, there's a recording thing, but it'd be nice to be able to record stuff. When I actually do think that, we shouldn't dismiss the Meta Ray-Ban that are just cameras. You're right that it's hard to frame, but because it's an ultra wide, the fact that you're hands-free, and I hear this from creators, like not, the TikTokers. I'm talking about the hardcore serious creators that do like really high quality video recording format for YouTube. They're telling me the Meta smart glasses cameras have become an essential B-roll camera.
Okay, for that professional use case.
Because they really are able, the quality is finally good enough now with the latest generation that, kind of came out together with the Oakley brand, that they could use that footage in their main videos. And it gives them a hands-free experience, a first-person experience, first-person point of view. And POV. I think that's valid. So, and then of course there's the speakers and microphones in there, so you can actually have a phone call. There's some utility to that. But I think that until all of them have a display, that's kind of where I'm going. But listen, if you're here going, no way, like Andy Boxall did in his story, like nobody wants to wear glasses, that was his premise. And like your article, which I think is valid, I think it really depends on people, I really feel like there is a different perspective on this. But we can't ignore the privacy implications. At the same time, with what's going on today in the US with our regime, surveillance, they're surveilling us, so why don't we surveil them back? If I can wear glasses that can record video, I have an opportunity to resist. So there is also that, right?
Don't give these ice goons any idea about what to look for in people's faces now.
I mean, that can be, that could obviously, but in all that can be, controlled because they are pretty much Meta's pretty much in the pockets, like all the tech companies are pretty much in the pockets of the government.
Zuckerberg has gone full MAGA. That pivot of his has just been remarkable to see.
They've bent over basically. So, I mean, they might block that stuff. Like they might detect and go, nope, we're not recording this. We're not storing it on our servers. We don't want to take that legal chance or whatever. Speaking of which, as a public service announcement, tell us about what's going on with Ice Block, because I wasn't aware of that.
Last night, Apple removed Ice Block from the App Store. As far as I know, they've not removed it from existing phones. I regret I had not thought to install it on the test iPhone I have here. This is a big step for Apple. We've seen them do this before at the behest of authoritarian governments in Russia and the People's Republic of China.
And in China, yeah.
This is in the United States of America. This is an app that, the idea that you have to remove this because it's being used to potentially coordinate attacks on ICE people, which it is not cool to kill people, by the way. Where do you stop? People might use Signal for that as well. And
it sets a precedent that is very disturbing for this country.
It's always been a risk. When Apple said, we will be the sole determinant of who can distribute applications at scale for the iPhone, that's putting a giant lever on the table for any would-be strongman to pick up and try to get the company to do what the country wants. And, we'd seen this play out in other countries, but this is the most serious case I can think of in the US. And it's problematic. And this is something Apple is not going to live this down. Well,
so maybe Android will become the resistance phone. Well, look, you can sideload.
The developer of Ice Block actually said, I'm not doing a version of this for Android because there's some privacy defense that he wanted that is not available in Android, but was in iOS. But yes,
he
it's
might
true.
have
Android,
to change
you
that.
can still sideload. You do have these options. Google has never said we alone can determine what software you can put on your phone.
But that's changing, right? You know that the next version of Android will not allow sideloading.
They will definitely make it more difficult. Is it going to be you've got to tap through multiple authorizations, sort of if you download an app off the public web and it's not been notarized for Mac OS, you can run it. They just
I feel like
annoyed a lot.
So I don't have the facts. I want to preface this, but I feel like what's going to happen is the same as we have on Mac, where it will let you do it, but you have to jump a whole bunch of hoops to do it.
And have to note, meanwhile, in the EU, Apple already gives you that choice because the European Union's regulators made them, passed a regulation, and Apple has had to open up app distribution there.
But let's be fair, that is a symbolic thing more than a practical thing. It's even worse than the jumping through hoops on the Mac. So I don't know if it's a viable option for practical purposes. But I mean, look,
I think it's important to have that there.
The bottom line is this sets a very, very scary precedent. And I honestly wouldn't be surprised if Google follows suit, at least for the Play Store, which again, you can get over that by sideloading. But and I understand why the developer trusts the privacy on the iPhone more. Obviously, that is a fact. Like Android phones are less secure than the iPhone, 100%. But at the same time, the flexibility of Android makes it possible to kind of circumvent some of the things. So we'll see how it goes. But back to smart glasses real quick. I feel like I want to try these out. I know that review units are going to be super scarce. I'm not high up enough the journalist food chain to get a review unit. I'm hesitant to spend the money on it, although $7.99 is reasonable. But I will need prescription, and I don't know if they can do progressives. I don't know how much of my prescription is going to cost.
You will need to go to some.
Yeah, and that's fine.
If there's an actual Ray-Ban studio in the city, you're okay.
Look, I'm a sucker. I spent $1,500 on Google Glass, and they shut it down after 2 years. And I honestly thought Google Glass was cool, except there was a certain stigma, but I think a lot of it was...
It was all Robert Scoble's fault.
Well, it was backlash, right? Yeah, the shower thing, yeah. But it was backlash, I feel like,
Sorry for putting that image in everyone's head.
Oh, God, thank you. Oh, man. Anyway, but I think excessive backlash that was unwarranted in many ways. Yes, some people were doing stupid things, but I think today, people wear Ray-Ban Meta glasses all the time. People don't look to see if you have a camera on your Ray-Bans. They don't look to see if the light is on. Now there was no light on Google, but they could have fixed that easily.
But there was no mistaking Google Glass for any other pair of eyewear.
The point is that we are now, 12, 13, whatever years from that.
God, yes,
and
it is.
I think we're in a completely different world where I think that would have flown. I think what also didn't fly was that it was visibly an extra thing on your head, right? Whereas Ray-Ban Meta, not even the display ones, the regular ones, the camera ones, like half the time, even with my creator friends, I'm like, which ones are you wearing? Oh, you're not. Oh, you're not wearing those. You're wearing regular Ray-Bans. Like, wow.
Don't call them dumb glasses. They're feature glasses.
Okay, fine. So yeah, I'll link to your article. I'll try to find Andy Boxall's article as well and link to it there so that you guys have a perspective and different. There's also, I'm going to link to The Verge's. Victoria is amazing. She's been on my podcast. She's with The Verge. She's the wearable goddess over there.
They did great work.
She will she has like a first impressions, and she's always very skeptical. So I really appreciate that from her. Because she tries all the devices and captures all of her personal biometric data with all these devices, and she does talk about the privacy implications and about the fact that what is all this data used for by these companies, and who gets access to, who do they sell them to. She doesn't just look at the hardware like me. I'm a bit of more of a, I kind of forget that there's a whole ecosystem behind all that stuff. So I'll link to all of that. Rob, shall we move on to speaking about some Snapdragon phones? Because
all that stuff we had last week.
The 8 Elite Gen 5 phones are trickling out. In fact, the first phone to be announced, and I don't know why I think we ran out of time because we were reviewing the iPhones and talking about the actual
It's too
chips
much
that
news
were
packed into
launched
September.
last week. Yeah, we didn't actually talk about the phones themselves, but some of the phones were announced during the event by their respective manufacturers. And the first one really was the Xiaomi 17 Pro and 17 Pro Max. And we've been making a lot of fun of Xiaomi because they decided to not only skip from 15 to 17, to skip the 16 number, which doesn't have any kind of cultural weirdness like the number 13, 4 in China, right?
Yeah, right.
But they decided to change the naming from, Pro and then Ultra to Pro and Pro Max. And they were totally open to it, to align themselves with Apple. And of course, their phone also has a camera plateau, but it has a display in there. So it's like, how the Razr has the cameras protruding out of the display? They've done that for a few years on the front, like the cover screen. And of course, Samsung followed suit with the Z Flip 7. Well, they're doing that, but in the camera pod. And so you can take selfies that way. It's kind of a little bit of a smartwatch running in the back. I mean, it's cool. And it's not the first time, to be fair.
I like quirky phone designs. There aren't enough in the world. Bring it on.
To be fair, Xiaomi, the back then when they were calling them Mi and a number instead of Xiaomi and a number, Mi 11 Ultra had a display in the back right next to the cameras, but it was literally physically separate, right? Like it was like the camera pod, the display. Whereas now it's like this plateau island, mesa, bump, pod, whatever you want to call it, with the whole thing is the screen and the cameras are jutting out of it. I think it's a cool looking design, even though who copied who here? I mean, seriously, they came out within 2 weeks of one another. And
fast work.
Xiaomi makes phenomenal hardware. You look at the specs on this, it's just like brutally great. Like, and of course, the software is always a bit iffy for me. Like, not that Xiaomi software is bad in any way. It's fine. It's just a little too iPhone-y for me. And they don't let you change some of the things that I like to change on Android, like, how Android now lets you split, like the iPhone, the pull from the top so that you can have the notifications if you pull from the left and the quick settings if you pull from the right. That's inherited from iPhone. Xiaomi doesn't let you change that back to the default Android where you pull from anywhere and you get both notifications and quick settings. So you're stuck. That's my biggest gripe with HyperOS, their version of Android. But the hardware, oh my God, it looks incredible. And I want to quickly go through some specs here for those of you who are nerdy enough to pay attention. But there's 3 phones, the 17, 17 Pro, and 17 Pro Max. Does that sound familiar? It's very much like the iPhone. And they will probably be a 17 Ultra because the 17 Ultra is always the camera-centric phone. And it always comes out 6 months after. But all 3 phones have the Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5. All 3 phones have triple 50 megapixel cameras. The Pros have a 5x telephoto instead of a 2.6x and have a bigger main
Crazy
sensor.
Specs.
And like, look at this. Look at the batteries on this. 7,000 milliamp hour for the base model, 63 milliamp hour for the middle, and 7,500 milliamp hour for the top, the Pro Max. 100 watt wired charging on all of them, 50 watt wireless on all of them, and they support.
They don't
all
look
the
that chunky
PPS.
either. Like I would expect a phone with that much battery to be this slab of a device.
No, because it's silicon carbon. Silicon carbon is the thing that they've been using for at least 3 years in China now, and they can do 800 charge cycles.
Xiaomi
after
does have
80%, like
what all accounts is a very good EV operation. So perhaps there's a little bit of learning back and forth going on there.
Oh, 100%. And like, look at that. Not only is it 100 watt wired with their proprietary charger, it's 100 watt wired with PPS support, which is the standard PD, like what your laptop uses. So, and the pricing, I mean, this is Chinese pricing, but look at that. Less than $1,000 for all 3 of them. Insane. And, the displays, of course, are gorgeous LTPO AMOLEDs, right? We've got they're all like basically 1220p displays, which is kind of insane. I don't know. I think this is amazing. And I'm not surprised in terms of hardware. I'm just surprised that they came out so quickly. Like, this happened the last few times with Snapdragon Summit, where the same week or the week after these phones were announced.
US market vendors are usually a trailing indicator. I don't really know why that is, but it is what it is.
I agree. And then the other thing is, these are out in China only for now, but they're going to be coming to the rest of the world anytime. Also, to be clear, just size-wise, so you have an idea, 6.3 inches on the regular and the Pro, and then 6.9. It's basically copying Apple here and copying, Pixel. And it's interesting that I feel like the entire Android industry is lining up here. I wouldn't be surprised if Samsung does the same thing where they have a small regular, a small pro, or whatever you want to call it, plus or whatever, and then
can't call it a
then
mini
the
phone.
Ultra.
Those don't sell.
We'll see what happens there. But anyway, these phones are impressive. I just wanted to let you know they exist because they're going to be coming to the West. I'm not sure we'll get all three in the West, but hopefully we do.
Europe, probably. The US, I don't know.
I don't know. Never the US. Xiaomi is not coming to the US, but global phones
It's too
do
hard to
work.
pronounce.
Global phones do work. I've been using the 15 last year's base model, and just fine. I had it for MWC, and before and after, and I used it, and it was totally okay. Supports all the bands. It was 8 Elite, right? So it had the Qualcomm chips. It had the, you might be missing some bands like 600 megahertz on T-Mobile, which in some markets would be an issue.
Rural coverage, that could be an issue, yeah.
You didn't have millimeter wave, but overall, the phones just work.
That's not going to be an issue.
Yeah, exactly, right?
No one cares about that.
The one I'm more excited about, and I want your thought on this, there's been rumors that, some legislators, both bipartisan actually, have been trying to look into potentially banning OnePlus. I don't know if you caught that news a few months ago. It seems to have died off, but I'm very excited. The OnePlus 15, by the way, they're jumping over 14 like they did. There was no OnePlus 4 because 4 is unlucky in Chinese culture. And I get that it's the 15. This is not the same as Xiaomi
Going
lining
from 15
themselves
to
up with
17.
Apple. Yeah, crazy. But like this OnePlus 15, initially when I saw that they were going back to a square pod, it's like everybody's going to square pods. Oh, come on, the round pods. Oppo OnePlus was all about the round pods. It was so cool. And, because Oppo's Dimensity 9500 devices are rumored to be coming with a square pod as well, going from round to square, like very much the same design language as the OnePlus, of course, same company. Yeah. But this Sandstone, version that they teased, that's coming, hopefully it's coming to the US as
really
well.
Refined.
It looks phenomenal. And, it uses micro arc oxidation. They've used this on a previous phone. I think it was OnePlus. The finish it's hard to explain. It feels like velvet, but it's metal. Like, that soft touch
so
plastic
will it be easier for me to get a hold on when it's raining and I'm trying to fish it out of a jeans pocket? Because that's how I destroyed one phone.
Back in the day when they did those soft touch plastic finishes that turned into goo after some time. You remember those?
Yuck. Vaguely.
But do you remember when they were new? They felt like velvet. That's kind of the same. But
so we need to know what this looks like and how this feels in the hand after a year.
Yeah, so we'll see how it goes. Well, this is metal. It's like, they're directly basically forging. They're forging ceramic onto metal, so it's not going to like disintegrate in any kind of weird way. And I believe the product they did that with last was very durable. So I think this is going to be awesome. But more importantly, it's an 880 Gen 5. And I must say that I've seen pictures of it. I do think I like this design, even though it doesn't have a round pod. And I feel like everybody's kind of coalescing onto this squircle rectangular thing.
OnePluses like to have their own sort of distinct vocabulary. And so to get back to, could they be banned? Like they actually do have buyers. So that seems, number one, Congress is definitely not doing anything right now as we speak. But it's not like banning Huawei where nobody could pronounce them, much less buy their phones. So they were going to have the deal with AT&T. They were going to announce at CES, like 8 years ago? And that got squelched very quickly.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm looking forward to it. Last year's OnePlus 13 was a phenomenal phone. It still is today if you want to get a deal on it. The other thing to keep in mind here is that there are rumors about this phone. We don't have specs yet other than the Snapdragon, but there are rumors of a 165 hertz display. There's rumors of a 7,000 plus milliamp hour silicon carbon battery. Remember, last year's OnePlus 13 has something like a 6,000 or 60 something 100 silicon carbon battery that charges at 80 watts. So we're expecting 7,000-ish something charging at 80 watt. I think this is what, I've had this rant on the podcast for 2 or 3 weeks now with various guests. The fact that I cannot believe that Apple, Samsung, and Google have not looked at, or at least made one of their top phones with a silicon carbon battery. because they claim the technology isn't ready and proven yet. I think that's BS. China's been doing it for over
Apple,
3 years.
All people should have enough resources to,
especially with the Air. That would be a perfect combo, right? Like,
right? Yeah, that's a great point.
I feel like, I have a few phones here from Xiaomi and BBK Group in general. The former BBK Group has been dissolved, but Oppo, Realme particularly, that are 7,000 plus milliamp hour battery. And literally you get 3 days of battery life. And because they charge at 80 watt or 60 watt or more, basically in general, you can charge them. Like you go in the shower, you're in the shower for 10, 15 minutes and you go from like 20% to 50%. And then, because of that much battery, like it doesn't matter. Like if you don't have to go to 100%. You can actually set the limiter. There's a limiter in software. You can set it to 90%, like on an EV, right? Like you can set the charge limit and then you still have all the capacity in the world. You get 2 days and you end the 2 days with 30% left. Like that is, to me, the charging overnight, like we all do, is not the solution. It puts a lot of stress and cycles on the battery. Being able to charge from a smaller amount to an almost full amount, but not quite full amount, or like little chunks here and there as needed, as necessary, because the charging is so fast. And when you get 3 days of battery life out of the entire charge, I think it's going to change the game. And I think people would love it. If it would take a mindset change, like going from gas to EV, where you have to change your way you think about.
I remember the first handset I had. It was amps analog in like 1998, and that could in fact go 3 days on a charge. So I would not take whatever you used to charge this Qualcomm thin phone, like going up to Boston to see my brother for a weekend. Which now, like, why would you do that? That's crazy. Even if your phone has great battery life.
My point is, I think that, I just don't understand why, like, it feels like, we're falling behind in North America by not having access to this technology. I mean, other than OnePlus, because they've done it. Nothing did it too. They put a silicon carbon battery in their Nothing Phone 3, the latest flagship, but it's not a really big one. They basically did it because they wanted to have more space for other things. So it's a 5,000-ish milliamp hour, which is fine. But anyway, the point is, I'm really looking forward to the OnePlus 15, especially now that I've seen the Sandstone. And of course, how can we forget the very famous Sandstone song by Darude, the one hit wonder from Finland that came out. That's all I can think of. Every time I see this word Sandstone next to that OnePlus 15, it's like dun 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 dun. Don't
get stuck in my head, but yeah, I know.
I'm sorry.
I do know that.
I made that joke in a TikTok and an Instagram reel where I posted the picture and I put the music on top of it. Anyway, I'm excited about this, but there's another phone, and I think this might be the first phone I am getting with the Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5. The Realme GT8 Pro is coming soon, and I hear from my Realme PR people that they want to send me a new flagship phone soon, so I think that's it. And I might get it before the OnePlus at this point, because I think the OnePlus is coming to the West, but we don't know when exactly. Probably November-ish. So this, as you know, there's sister companies here. Like, this is probably going to be essentially a OnePlus 15 in drag. The OSs are almost identical. Realme UI looks exactly like ColorOS, which is Oppo, which looks exactly like Oxygen OS. And the specs on this phone are interesting so far, what we know at least. It has this weird camera pod. I have to give them credit for doing something kind of unique. Again, this is all teased, but what we know is it might have a 200 megapixel periscope telephoto, which is better specs than the OnePlus. And this would be the first time that Realme has out OnePlus to OnePlus, because Realme has always been kept at bay. They are always the value brand for the.
I was going to say, who's the consumer affordable one, and who's the.
But in the last couple of years, they have made some really feature-packed flagships. Like they were basically head-to-head with the OnePlus flagship at the time, and this with a 200 megapixel telephoto rumored would be even better. So I think they might be passing OnePlus, but they might not have wireless charging because sometimes they don't. We'll see, but it'll definitely have a massive battery because Realme, almost every single Realme phone has come out with 7,000 milliamp hour in the last 3 or 4 months. So I wouldn't expect their flagship to be any less. We'll see, but I'm excited about it. I think it looks interesting. I'm not sure it looks good, but I mean, that's, on the eye of the beholder, I guess.
We shall see.
What are your thoughts on this? Like, do you think strategy of these companies like Xiaomi also has the Poco brand or the Redmi brand. Like, do you think it makes sense to have all these sub brands that cater to different, geographies, but also have different value props, but as still essentially part spinning, right?
Well, I mean, it works for like Marriott and Hyatt, which have 50 different hotel brands each. So sure, why not? Go ahead, go crazy. They're only up to like 10. That's nothing.
Yeah, no,
yeah.
right.
I think it is interesting in general that there is all this innovation going on that you don't necessarily see in the US. That's why I go to MWC Barcelona every year. Also, love the food, to make sure I don't miss what is happening outside the confines of Apple stores and Best Buys and wireless carrier stores in the States.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, obviously, I have an audience that's more international than the average tech journalist in North America. I'm also based in Canada and the US, so I don't have a uniquely US perspective on things. And my background is being born and raised in Europe, so I kind of keep a finger on the pulse of what's going on over there as well. So, for me, getting those Chinese phones, and when I say Chinese phones, I mean the global editions that have all the Google Play services and
right, not
supporting
the
the
Huawei
bands.
with the app
not the
gallery.
Crazy.
Right?
I mean, I'd love to get the Huawei's because they're so cool, and I used to, but like that's not practical. Although now that I can get them and possibly get them shipped to me in Canada, maybe I'll see what I can do there. The point is, though, that I think this is going to be exciting. I think we have a volley, essentially, of phones coming. And I want to add, because the sponsor of this podcast is MediaTek, we do have Dimensity 9500 phones coming, but we know less about them right now. I believe Oppo's Find X9 series coming out soon will be MediaTek equipped. So we'll be able to test that out as well. And the Find X series has always been their flagship and has really been a great line of products. I reviewed the Find X8 Pro last year with the Dimensity 9400 and loved that phone. And then the Ultra came with the Qualcomm chip, and that was in after MWC, and that phone, the Ultra, was insane. And my review finally went up on geekspin.co, so check it out. Geekspin is Elena Stone's publication based out of New York. It's kind of lifestyle and tech, and I love writing for her. And this is an in-depth review, especially since it's a camera-centric phone. So if you want a good camera phone, this is it. It is tricky because it's China only, so I had to sideload the Play services, and it's fine. Everything is working because they're not blocking it, but it's not as straightforward as the Pro was, which was a global product. So yeah. So keep an ear out for this. We have a bunch of other news items I want to quickly go through with you. Xiaomi also launched their 15T model. So I don't know if you know this, Rob, but Xiaomi every year does their flagship. Usually it used to be the flagship would come out in December, like after the Qualcomm chips were announced, basically, right? And then the T, which was like the value version of their flagships, with the same number. So, 15 comes out, and then 15T 6 months later would come out, generally in the spring, with, value approach to making a flagship.
So like an A series Pixel phone.
Yeah, it's not that low value. Like, they're still flagships. So they still have a Snapdragon or Dimensity high-end chip in them. They still have the camera with Zeiss branding. They might skimp on things like maybe they'll use a plastic frame instead of a metal frame, or they'll drop wireless charging on the base model. But there's still, like, the A is a mid-range phone. Like, think of it like iPhone 17 to the iPhone 17 Pro. Okay, you know what I'm saying? Right. More value, you lose a few features. But that timing, that's the 6 months apart TikTok cycle, has been completely upended with the Snapdragon chips coming out earlier and earlier. Because last year they did the 14T, strangely enough, it was 14T. And then literally a month later, the 15 came out at Snapdragon Summit. And now, this year, they came out simultaneously. Like, it's no longer, and it's weird because it's so confusing because they're 15 models, not 17. So anyway, they're out. And for those of you who are in markets where they sell these phones and you want to save a bit of money compared to the crazy 17s, there's some good stuff in here. Like, again, you're getting nice AMOLED displays, but they're not LTPOs, LTPS. It's still 120 hertz, still AMOLED, still 1220p type displays. You're getting, Dimensity 8400 on the cheaper 15T, and you're getting 9400 plus, not the latest, but the closest to the latest on the Pro. And then, two 50 megapixel camera, 12 megapixel ultra wide on each. They're really nice size cameras. If no OIS on the base model on the telephoto, but you get OIS on the main sensors on both. You get OIS on the 5x telephoto from the Pro. The regular only has a 2x telephoto. And then the batteries, same thing, 5500, pretty nice. I don't think these are silicon carbon, but 90 watt charging and 50 watt wireless on the Pro.
That is above average.
And then you look at the pricing, and of course these are global models, so you always want to add about €100 or $100 to the Chinese pricing, because they're highly subsidized in China by like apps like Weibo and
not Waymo.
I was gonna say, yeah, right. The whole WeChat, universe up there.
Yeah.
So that's
the
why.
Everything app.
Yeah, the Everything app. But anyway, so all I'm saying is that these prices are pretty good. They're always pretty good with this 15T, the T series in general. Then we have the Realme 15 Pro Game of Thrones edition that is being teased. It's coming October 8th. And I will tease you some more by saying this. I have it. I cannot show it to you. So it is a Realme 15 Pro, just like the 15 Pro that came out a few months back, a couple of months ago. So it's their mid-range phone with a decent camera system that costs about $350. But this is a fully Game of Thrones-ified edition with like a custom design of camera pod in the back and a bunch of and it comes in a nice box with like branded everything and some stuff.
So I thought the lesson was Game of Thrones. If you live in that universe, you may die a violent death unexpectedly. So I don't know if I want that or not.
Hopefully the phone won't kill you. But the point I'm making is that I have an unboxing video coming up for you guys. So stay tuned. I cannot tell you more than I just did, and I cannot show it to you just yet. But next week, hopefully, after the 8th, I will be able to show you some stuff. So if you're Game of Thrones, I know nothing. I never watch the show because, I have so much little time.
Do you not like the sight of blood? Because it's really, if not...
It's not that. I have to pick one TV show a year that I can stick with. Severance was the latest. Before that, it was years ago, it was Breaking Bad. I did the whole, For Mankind or whatever it's
called. For Mankind, that's a great one. I still have to finish watching that. But I couldn't do Game of Thrones, not because I didn't want to. It's just I didn't have time. So I know nothing about it. I'm culturally inept. I don't pay attention to what's going on out there. So when I do this Spoiler
unboxing,
alert, everyone dies.
Yeah, of course. But spoiler alert, when I do this unboxing, for those of you who are Game of Thrones fans, you will throw the phone at the wall when you watch this because I know nothing. I'll be looking at it going, hey, look, cool stuff. Wow, Anyway, so I think it should be entertaining from that perspective or annoying depending on who you talk to. Moto is supposedly coming out with an X17 Air branded phone in China. The X series in China ends up being the Edge for us in the West. So there's chances this will become a Moto Edge 70, right? But will it be called Moto Edge 70 Air? And
Apple might have some thoughts.
Well, but not only that, but from these leaked renders, thanks to our good friend, the famous leaker, Evan Blass, they don't look that thin. Like, it opened the photo of the one with the USB port, and this looks like a normal 6-point-something 7mm phone. Like, the Edge phones, by their name itself, have always been relatively thin, but they've never been like 5-point-something millimeter thin. So I don't know why they're calling it Air. Maybe it's for Chinese market to kind of like compete with Apple, but keep an ear out for a new Moto Edge coming out in the West that might be slightly thinner, but not super thin. So there you go. That's it. Couple news items from Nothing/CMF. CMF is Nothing's budget brand that's mostly India, but also sold here. You can buy them on Amazon legally. They make phones, which are phenomenal for super incredible value, that are sold here as well. The CMF Phone 2 Pro was pretty amazing this year. $279, insane for what it was giving you in terms of value. Yeah, but not cheap, if you know what I'm saying. Nothing cheap about it. Nothing has this new Essential Apps thing that they're talking about. I'm not quite sure what to make of this. Basically, they've announced Nothing OS 4.0. Nothing OS is really awesome. It's a very pure version of Android that's lightly skinned and very, very pleasant to use. It's on their smartphones. It's also on the CMF phones that I was just talking about, the really great value phones. And so with Nothing OS 4, they're starting to introduce more and more AI features in their OS, and this promises hyper-personalized experiences. There's a lot of buzzwords here. I'm not quite sure what to make of it. Essential apps are basically kind of like apps on steroids. They're Android apps that take advantage of some of the Essential space. They inherited the Essential brand name, right? Yeah. So they've been,
that's right.
Their AI space on their phones, where like if you push the AI button, you can take a note and it gets stored in their little universe of AI, and then you can cross-reference, and it lets you take a photo and annotate it, and like basically then search through AI. Basically get a little agent on the phone. That's called Essential Space on the Nothing phones as part of their OS. But this OS 4 looks like it's pushing things beyond that by letting apps access that. And they're going to be essential apps that are, capable of accessing this essential space. That's all I can understand from seeing that. But what I'm actually more excited about, this has been announced and I have a review unit coming. CMF started off like Nothing originally with audio products, right? But making affordable earbuds. And now they're making a pair of headphones. Just like Nothing made a really nice pair of headphones that compete with, the best that Sony and Bose and Apple with the AirPods Max make.
Still have the original set I got in like 2021.
There you go. So they've been making a whole bunch of earbuds, but they made a pair of headphones, Nothing. Now the CMF brand, which also made a whole bunch of more affordable earbuds, is making a more affordable pair of headphones. And I'm getting them, and I'm really looking for them because the Nothing headphones were pretty great. And these are going to be colorful, noise canceling, 100-hour of battery life, $100, interchangeable colors on the ear pads. Look, that's physical controls for everything, USB-C, of course. I think these are going to be awesome. And, as an aside, CMF has announced that, Nothing has announced that the CMF brand is going to be spun off as its separate entity soon, based in India primarily, which is their biggest market.
What does CMF stand for, by the way?
Color, material, and finish. Okay. Literally, that's what they named it.
There's a jet engine manufacturer by the name of it, so it trips me up.
Oh, yeah, I know that. Fair enough. No, it's what designers use to call the way things are, products are manufactured, using color, material, and finish. So they went with that and branding, and so it looks like they're going to be separating themselves as a separate thing. But it's great because from what I talked to their PR people about, they're going to keep selling in North America, so you can buy their earbuds and stuff right now. And they also make smartwatches, like essentially fitness bands on steroids. Like that Moto watch that came out with the Razors. It's essentially a dumb watch, but that's has incredible battery life because it doesn't have apps on it. It does sleep tracking, it does activity tracking, it gives you notifications, all that. Think Pebble, right? Basically, but without the installable apps in terms of battery life. So, and with an OLED display and everything. So that's what Moto did for the Razor. They had an accessory watch, and now CMF would be making a couple of those. So CMF's been around. Check them out. Keep an ear on my review of the CMF headphones. I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, so listen, this is good. We should probably wrap up. Rob, tell people where they can find you on the internet, your social media handles, where you're active, where you write, because I know you write in a whole bunch of places.
Yes, so you could find me regularly at pcmag.com. I write less often, but at greater length for Fast Company. I maintain the guide to phone plans at Wirecutter. Yes, it needs to be updated. We're almost done with that. And because Blue Sky supports domain names, you can find me as robpegoraro.com on the web and on Blue Sky.
So definitely read Rob's stuff. It's good. Very analytical perspective on journalism. I love it. Also, big AV nerd like me. So if you want to talk airplanes, go talk to Rob, or space, or transportation in general. Yeah. Same with me. It's my little side hobby. I love trains and stuff. Folks, you know where to find me. I'm at Tankgirl, TNKGRL, all over the internets. I am primarily active on Blue Sky, Instagram, and Threads maybe. Of course, I'm still on the evil Twitter because of some of you are there and I want to communicate, but I don't actually actively participate there. I am on TikTok, for better or for worse, so follow me there. It's Tank Girl, TNKGRL, like the comic book character, drop the vowels, like all my other handles, with a 6 and a 9 at the end, because that's my year of birth. Don't go there in your heads, your dirty minds. Because I think it's cool, because I'm not afraid of that. My birth year is awesome. So anyway, we went to the moon that year, in case you didn't know. It's like a big deal. So anyway, TikTok, follow me there. The podcast is at mobiletechpodcast.com on all the major platforms. You can subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube Music, everywhere. So please, if you're coming here because Rob brought you here, please subscribe. I'd appreciate it.
All two of you.
There's a YouTube channel, youtube.com/mobiletechpodcast. You can get some videos. I put segments of the podcast in there for you. Also unboxings, hands-ons, that kind of stuff. So check that out. And then finally, if you want to support me, as I mentioned, mid-roll here, patreon.com/TNKGRL. Again, same handle everywhere. You can get the video version of this podcast a day in advance, every week for $5 a month. So please consider helping me, supporting me if you can. I'd appreciate that. And finally, I want to thank our sponsor, MediaTek. MediaTek powers more than 2 billion devices every year and is the #1 provider of smartphone SoCs. And Rob, thanks so much for being my guest
You're
on
welcome.
the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate you. Yeah, we'll have you on again at some point. And folks, we'll have another podcast next week, so stay tuned for that. Until then, cheers, everybody.
This has been the Mobile Tech Podcast with Tank Girl, proudly presented by worldpodcasts.com. You can visit us online at mobiletechpodcast.com.